Looking at the major Street Fighter characters, Ryu is clearly the poster boy, so he makes plenty of cameos outside the series. However, there's another character that stands out with prolific appearances beyond the franchise. Who could it be? Ken, the original rival? Akuma, the secret boss? Retsu? No, it's Street Fighter's first lady, Chun-Li. While Ryu has a recognizable headband, his more basic design helps him blend into the background with some of his cameos. Chun-Li's hair buns and oversized key-pow dress make her a more noticeable character when referenced away from the series. She has appeared in TV shows, other video games, random icons on YouTube, the list goes on. So I'll be looking at some of my favorite cameos Chun-Li has made outside of Street Fighter or playable appearances in other fighting games. Non-playable appearances are fine though. The character cameoing can also be an imitation Chun-Li, since we all know it can be difficult to get the rights to someone else's character. So here are my top 10 Chun-Li cameos outside of Street Fighter.
You ready for me? You ready for me?
Number 10. Wreck-It Ralph. A movie about video games where Street Fighter characters cameo. It's a pretty expected Chun-Li appearance. It's not the most notable Street Fighter cameo since she has no lines unlike Ryu or Zangief, so there isn't too much to say. She's just walking around with other characters in the background. However, if there is anything to note, it's that Disney is writing their own subtle Street Fighter fanfic by having Ryu and Chun-Li sit next to each other in the background in one scene. It's incredibly hard to see and it means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things, but it shows what can happen when you give Disney the rights to your characters. Number 9. Skullgirls River King Casino Stage. A non-playable appearance of course, and a non-human appearance too. In the background of the River King Casino stage, a Chun-Li dog and Guile dog will appear as NPC characters occasionally. The dogs were player-submitted ideas from the Skullgirls Indiegogo funding campaign, where if you pledged a certain amount of money, you could have your own character put in the background as an NPC character. So thanks some backer for this cameo. Of course, I would not have been surprised if the creators just wanted to put another Street Fighter cameo in here, since we already have a Street Fighter reference on the New Meridian stage. In the far right, there's a Ryu lookalike in a bag with Ryu's face on it, which in itself is a reference to Waku Waku 7 referencing Ryu. Maybe Street Fighter characters are just non-human characters in this Skullgirls universe. I guess that would make this a real Chun-Li in some cases. Nah, it's probably just some dog that enjoys Chun-Li's style. Number 8. Capcom World 2. This is a video game that's a board game quiz game by Capcom, as the name so subtly implies. The characters are trying to return peace to their homeland after a villain steals their crystals. With a name like Capcom World, expect plenty of Capcom characters, Street Fighter included. Chun-Li is a character that will swoop down and ask our heroes a question and then leave. It's no different from the other cameos that Street Fighter characters make in this game, but I like that she has some custom artwork we never see again. Capcom could have easily just copy and pasted her Street Fighter 2 artwork. All of the Street Fighter characters do have their own unique sprites and there are some pretty cool poses in the mix. But a more unique cameo in this game is Chun-Li is one of the few Capcom characters not from the Capcom World main characters that appears on the board itself before asking a question on a stage. This stage is themed after Ken's stage in Street Fighter 2. That's right, Chun-Li was apparently more cameo-worthy on a stage based around Ken than Mr. Masters himself. Sorry, Ken. Number 7. Sailor Moon Episode 191. So this is probably the most bootleg cameo you can get on this list, but I like it. In this Season 5 episode of Sailor Moon, the main characters, minus Usagi, are pursuing the mysterious group of the season, the Three Lights, who are pop star idols. One of the Three Lights is a VIP guest at a video game event, and that's what the event is called. They didn't give it a special name that they wanted to make up. When Ami is trying to make an excuse not to cosplay with the rest of the group, they were overtaken by the other video game cosplayers. I don't recognize the exact costumes of any of these other cosplayers, except for maybe this Darkstalker's hybrid costume, so I'm going to say the Chun-Li costume is the most accurate of the group. If I didn't know any better, I'd say this is the real Chun-Li. Can we say that I didn't know any better so I have an excuse to put this higher on the list? The main video game played at this tournament event is a generic fighting game, so the Chun-Li cosplay cameo is indeed fitting. Wait, are they playing Fighting Vipers? That's obscure. Number 6. Capcom Sports Club. This is a Capcom sports game. It had your standard video game sports in a Capcom arcade style: basketball, soccer, and tennis. In the tennis game, called Smash Stars, you can select a tennis player from any country available, sorta like Street Fighter when you think about it. Almost all of these characters have standard designs. They're all new, nothing too special until you go to select the tennis player from China. Her name is Li Li. Li Li? Chun-Li? I think a certain Street Fighter character is going incognito here. What does Li Li have in common with Chun-Li besides the first and second syllable of her name being the same as the second syllable of Chun-Li's name? Well, the hair buns and country of origin to start, but maybe that's just a coincidence. Until you see her victory pose as Chun-Li's Yata dance.
You win!
Clearly this is a direct reference to Chun-Li with all the similarities, but because the character has no backstory, we can make our own assumptions. It's a different character from Chun-Li, or if you really want to give her an extended backstory, this is just Chun-Li's disguise when she's waiting for a new Street Fighter game to be made and has to make money being a tennis star. Number 5. Asura's Wrath. While not as epic as Ryu's cameo, Chun-Li appears in the epilogue chapter of Asura's Wrath, where we see all of the characters from the game reincarnated. The epilogue actually starts up with a reference to Street Fighter II's opening, so Chun-Li is not alone here. She is seen telling the reincarnation of an antagonist Kalro that he is speeding on his Segway in a pedestrian zone. This character is just named Policewoman, because I guess Capcom thought, alright, let's give this character Chun-Li's profession, hairstyle, wristbands, boots, and overall facial structure, but leave her name a mystery since those attributes are only subtle hints that this is everyone's favorite fast-kicking martial artist. Of course, they probably didn't want to directly reference Street Fighter in the canon story of Asura's Wrath, since that may break the tone of the main story of the game. Let's just save that for the DLC. Number 4. Final Fight 2. You think Saturday Night Slam Masters was the best appearance by Chun-Li in the background of a game that co-starred Mike Haggar? Think again. In the Hong Kong stage of Final Fight 2, while fighting enemies near this restaurant, Chun-Li can be spotted in the background eating noodles at the restaurant with some other patrons. While Final Fight and Street Fighter have since integrated into the same franchise, this was before the two series had any major crossover, minus Final Fight's original name being Street Fighter 89, so this was still an unexpected cameo by Chun-Li or really any Street Fighter character. Considering Chun-Li has never hesitated to stop any crime in the past, those noodles must have been good if it distracts her from this brawl. Also, who would have guessed that around 20 years later, she'd get a chance to wear those noodles as a hat? Number 3. Mega Man 9. In the intro of Mega Man 9, when we are learning about the Robot Masters destroying the city thanks to Dr. Wily's nefarious plan, our heroes are hearing about this via news report. For the one still image of the news reporter, you can clearly see that she's Chun-Li or an alternate version of Chun-Li from the year 20XX that more resembles her Puzzle Fighter counterpart. Of course, this is not just a blind Chun-Li reference in a Capcom game, but rather a cameo based off the 1994 American Street Fighter movie, where among its inaccurate depictions of characters from the series, Chun-Li's profession was a news reporter rather than a cop. This further shows that Capcom not so secretly loves that movie to an extent, since this is not the first time that Chun-Li and news reporting have had ties in a video game. Isn't that right, Third Strike? Number 2. Breath of Fire. This is a Capcom RPG where you go on adventures as the main character Ryu and supporting character Nina. No, those are not the right characters. There we go. This is a fantasy medieval era RPG where the main character Ryu can turn into a dragon and is trying to collect keys before the antagonist does to protect the world. In one of the areas you encounter called Bleak, you meet a quote-unquote magician who will show you a trick if you pay him 100 gold. After answering the questions the correct way, You get to see this trick. It's Chun-Li doing her lightning kicks, all for 100 gold. I kinda love how evil this Easter egg is. It makes you pay to see a cameo by a character from another game. The cameo only lasts for about 5 seconds before she disappears, and you get nothing in return. What do you think it was like for Ryu the medieval dragon guy to see this modern day woman kicking really fast with no context and then everything disappears? Hey, wanna see a trick? It's Chun-Li! Bye. Also, if you get the good ending for the game, you'll see Chun-Li among the townsfolk in the credit sequence. She also appears in some of the sequels as a cameo. Oh Chun-Li, you interdimensional time traveler. Number 1. This cameo is sort of well known, sometimes being the only reason people know of the movie it's from. Jackie Chan as Chun-Li in City Hunter for about 5 minutes. City Hunter is a Hong Kong live-action movie based off a manga. I'm sure you just want me to go over why Jackie Chan is wearing Chun-Li's dress, but I'll give you a brief summary why this is happening and why it's amazing. Jackie Chan's character, Ryo Saiba, is on a rescue mission for a CEO's daughter, but gets caught by her captor Don Mack. When Ryo is about to get executed, he escapes and is chased down by one of Don Mack's main henchmen. They'd run into an arcade and Ryo is thrown into a Street Fighter arcade cabinet. After that, wackiness ensues. Ryo hallucinates and sees the henchman as Ken. Not just in appearance, but he starts doing all of Ken's attacks, the best you can in real life. Ryo counterattacks by turning into E Honda, even doing his 100-hand slap, but he fails. After a few more Street Fighter cameos, it's time for the main event. Ryo turns into Chun-Li and basically becomes the best live-action Chun-Li ever. I'm sorry, other Chun-Li movie. You have all the voice clips from Street Fighter from the two playing during this fight, and just everything is happening. Even with the help of stunt effects, when seeing a real-life spinning bird kick go against a real-life Tatsumaki Senpukiak, it makes you truly realize how silly these attacks look. Beyond the impossible spinning bird kick, we get to see Jackie Chan doing the Yatta victory pose, getting his fighting stance right, and doing some lightning legs. Sort of. It's accurate enough even though it resembles more of Liu Kang's bicycle kick. And what are the results? We learn this was actually a real fight represented through Street Fighter characters. Or maybe Chun-Li took over his body. When Ryo first appears as Chun-Li, you'll notice he takes her spot on the wall of Street Fighter characters by the arcade cabinet when Chun-Li was there before in a previous scene. So perhaps Chun-Li really emerged to save the day. No matter what actually happened with the cameo, I just want to know who had the audacity to say, let's make Chun-Li the hero of this movie for a 5-minute segment. This was random, but it was an incredibly fun fight and a performance by Jackie Chan that should never be forgotten. And that's my number 1 Chun-Li cameo outside of Street Fighter. So what do you think? Are there any Chun-Li cameos that I left off this list? Let me know. Also, if there are any other fighting game characters you'd like me to cover cameos of outside of their respective franchise, leave a comment. Thank you all for watching, and thank you to everyone who helped capture, record, and edit down the video game footage you saw in this video. See you all in the next video.